It has been an amazing opportunity getting to ride out with this bike and getting to do a couple of little jobs on the bike. But by the time you watch this video, this bike will have gone back to his owner. So, when this bike goes back to his owner, I will get my sports bike back. I have missed him, but also I have no doubt that I will get to ride this bike again. Certainly during the summer, the owner and I end up at a number of bike nights, but it's been really nice actually doing a couple of little jobs to this bike that's kind of bringing it back to, I would say, the phrase is bringing a vehicle back to its former glory. But this bike is only 5 years old. But as we found out last week, this bike was stored outside by the previous owner, and the bike did have a couple of rusty bolts, rusty washers, the sort of thing that kind of detracts from just how amazing this bike looks. So it's been nice to get my hands on this bike, help out the owner, and get those rusty components cleaned up or painted or replaced. But I'm on my favourite road again with this little Café Racer, and I already don't want to give it back. And what's funny is when I see myself dressed in my full gear and I'm about to take this bike out, I'll go and get the bike, and because of the look of the bike, I mean, I'm dressed in Textiles, but the minute I lift that garage door and I see this bike, it makes me want to go and buy a brown leather jacket and maybe some brown biker boots, some jeans, an open-faced helmet with some stripes on it, you know, maybe a yellow one and a white one, etc. Just so that my gear matches the bike, because that is the look of this bike, of course, and that's just how it makes me feel. But I'll do all right with my Textiles for now, at least. It means I do get to ride the bike. So what have we done to this bike then? Well, we've cleaned pretty much everything, and then one little ride out in the rain, and yeah, we're starting to add to the crap again. But no, seriously, we've cleaned just about everything. We got rid of some rust on his headlight bolts there. We've cleaned up the entire engine, sorted out a water leak, got those black, well, they are black now, we got those bolts painted because they were rusting. There was a serious problem just here where this bracket had been bent previously, and the paint had cracked, fell off, disappeared, and it was all starting to rust. So we've got that brought back to life. We adjusted the rear brake, but unfortunately this little ball joint back here just ran out of adjustment, so that needs a little bit more investigation, because that brake lever still unfortunately travels a little bit too far for my liking, but it's slightly better than it was. Really importantly, these washers that hold the shocks on, they were terrible. We've managed to get those replaced, and yeah, we've pretty much cleaned up everything. We painted the caliper bolts because the caliper bolts were terrible, so they're all cleaned and painted. And round this side we cleaned off what felt like 5 years worth of grease and grime from the swing arm all along here, and all up the back of the number plate there, which again, ironically, one little ride out in wet weather. It's not even raining, it's just that the ground's wet, and we're starting to add crap there as well. But yeah, there was shitloads of grease and grime up in there, so that's all sorted now. So there are still one or two little jobs that the owner of this bike is going to want to get done. For example, these foot pegs here, they've they've just corroded. They still work. I haven't bothered cleaning them though because the aluminium has corroded, so he's going to want to replace them. And of course he's still going to want to move his number plate round to the side, which I must admit I assumed it would go on the right hand side of the bike, but everyone seems to be putting them on the left. So that's something for us to look into. We could maybe investigate how to get some more adjustment out of this rear brake, just so that it works and feels better. And unfortunately I did find a broken bracket here as well, which is a real shame, but it may explain the rattling sound that I was hearing coming from the front of the bike. And you know, although this bike still needs a couple of little jobs doing, that does mean that I'm going to get to ride this bike again in the future.